There is a great deal of wrongdoing in cities and larger towns, of course. The newspapers are desperate to make sure that we do not miss a single grisly detail. But I wonder if there aren't more terrible things happening in England's villages and hamlets than in its metropolises. Prudence pursed her lips. Well, it's not true of Meon Maltravers. This is a highly respectable place. Meon Maltravers was a small town with red-tiled, flint-walled buildings built hugger-mugger across the centuries along its sloping, cobbled streets with soaring views over the South Downs towards the coast. It had certainly had the appearance of a respectable place when Miss Marple had arrived earlier in the light of day. But now darkness had fallen, and just at this moment came a new round of caterwauling and shrieks from the street. Miss Marple raised her eyebrows. "Are you sure?" Prudence waved a hand. "Oh, just some local hijinks, perfectly harmless. But you always did have a dark imagination, Jane." "This isn't imagination, dear. I've borne witness to it." Miss Marple had been about to say first-hand and speak to some of her experiences over the last few years, but again there was another small explosion outside. Perhaps it was no bad thing. Too much talk of evil had a way of discomforting one's companions, even those with constitutions as strong as Prudence's. Instead, in the next window of relative calm, Miss Marple said, "People knowing one another's business, that's part of it. It gives rise to all sorts of misunderstandings and resentments. Boredom, too, that's another thing. No cinemas or theatres or restaurants to take people out of the humdrum. The terrible acts that are likely committed due to a simple lack of other things to do." Prudence frowned and said, in her best head girl voice, she had in fact been head girl all those years ago, "I've been made to feel very welcome here since I lost poor George 15 years ago, which is no given thing, considering he lived here alone as a bachelor for so many years before Alice and I joined him." Miss Marple looked to the mantelpiece. "That's from the cruise, isn't it?" The photograph showed a younger Prudence, alongside Alice, Prudence's daughter from her first marriage, and the late George Fairweather. It had been the last time Miss Marple and Prudence had met, on a tour of the Norwegian fjords. George Fairweather, considerably Prudence's senior, had been a frail figure of a man, unsteady on his feet, with the mottled complexion of a windfall apple. As for Alice, she remembered a pretty girl dressed in clothes that seemed a little too luxurious for one so young. "Where is Alice now?" Miss Marple asked. "Oh, just outside the village. We've always been closer than most mothers and daughters. She married a local landowner, Sir Henry Tyson. They are quite the toast of Meon Maltravers." Miss Marple gave a small cough. "And you really are part of things here? In my experience, in such places one is often considered a newcomer for several decades before being truly accepted into the fold. 15 years is like the blink of an eye." Prudence drew herself up. "I'm head of the parish council, Jane," she said, as though that settled everything. "And I'm certainly vieille garde when compared to our latest newcomer, the new choir mistress. She's been renting Badger's Rest, an arts and crafts monstrosity on the outskirts of town, and there is much speculation about her." Miss Marple leaned in. "Of what kind?" "She's foreign, for one thing. French. Young, or less than 40, anyhow. Near to Alice's age, in fact. And she used to be a rather successful opera singer, but the story is that she had some trouble with her vocal cords and had to leave the stage. Anyhow, she has ruffled a few feathers. An unaccompanied woman, you know how it is. Of course, I don't give in to gossip." Miss Marple nodded. "Of course. But Christopher Palfrey, our resident poet and a very talented tenor, just published his latest collection."